Welcome back to AOH Primetime as we continue our series featuring all the great work, great people at Summit County Children's Services doing so much here in Summit County to support families in need and children in need. And our guest today, Tracy Mayfield, and you are the Department Director of Protective Specialized Services.
Yes.
And what does that entail?
So I oversee 7 units that work with from every end of the spectrum of permanency. We have a family preservation unit that works with families on a voluntary basis to try to stabilize their family situation. I have a couple other specialized units that work with medically fragile kids. I have one unit that works with our juvenile drug court program, and I have a couple of adoption units as well.
The first thing that you mentioned, are there families that maybe are just on the verge of things not going well, and they just need some support? Not removing children necessarily, but at that questionable right up to the line.
Right. They have some issues that are causing some safety concerns in the home, but not to the level that we would need to remove the children. So if they agree to work with us on a voluntary basis, we can go in, provide some more intensive services, really make sure we're keeping those kids safe in the home, and, provide services, referrals, make sure the family's getting what they need so they can stabilize and continue to parent their children without us.
On the opposite end of that, then to go into permanent custody, there's a whole seminar, beyond seminar, there's a whole degree on it, let's say, much more than we could cover here. But just give us the tip of the iceberg as to why a child might need to go into permanent custody.
Right. So once a child is removed from the home, the family has 1 year to work a case plan. The case plan is written, tailored to each family's specific needs for what they would need to do to remedy the concerns that brought them to our attention. They have 1 year to do that. If they are making significant case plan progress, we're seeing behavior change, they can have up to 2 6-month extensions on that to, be able to continue that forward progress and ultimately reunify with their children. If they are not able to make progress, not able to remedy those safety concerns, and, we need to explore different permanency options for children, permanent custody is one of those options that we have. Once children are in our permanent custody, the parents' rights are terminated, and then we have to look for an adoptive family for those children.
And ultimately, it's not up to caseworkers or anyone at Summit County Children's Services. It's up to the courts. It's up to the magistrate as to whether or not the case plan is progressing properly. It's out of your hands.
Yeah, the court has the oversight. They usually have a guardian ad litem or a CASA who is also assigned to that case. And so, they take the recommendations of everyone involved, but the court has the ultimate decision.
What is the process for searching for relatives that might be in a better place to be able to take on care of the child?
So we start searching for relatives right from the start. The moment we know a kid has to be removed, we do start looking for relatives. And I should say kin. We look for blood-related kin and non-blood kin. A lot of families have, close connections of people that they would consider family, and so we will consider them as well. We do that, right from the start to make sure that we can keep kids with family whenever possible, when it's safe to do so. Even at times when we are not able to place with family, we still continue to look for connections so kids can be connected to their family. They may be able to provide short-term care like babysitting or supervise a visit, or just, have kids over for a holiday celebration, but not be able to make that full-time commitment to care for them. We do an excellent job with that at Summit County. We typically have about 50% of our kids placed with kin, which is amazing for the kids.
When it comes to the foster to adopt idea, all foster parents know that if they take on that, it's could potentially be a short term. And then there's this idea that it could be long term. It could, if they get an extension, on the case plan, the judge, the magistrate were to say, hey, we're going to give this case another 6 months. We're going to give it another 6 months. But then at some point, and then the foster parents have a decision to make. Are they the permanent placement? Are they the permanent solution, the adoptive parents?
Correct.
Describe, there's so much to that.
Yeah.
It is extremely complicated. It is certainly one of those things it's hard for foster parents to maybe very difficult. Help the audience understand.
So foster care is temporary. You're correct. We, tell people that when they are interested in becoming foster parents, that it is temporary. And it is temporary right up until it's not. Like you said, once a child is in the permanent custody of the agency, then they are free for adoption. And so often foster parents who have had a child in their home will make that decision to adopt. We do have some foster parents that just want to foster. You do have folks out there that just want to adopt, but we have been fortunate that many of our foster parents want to grow their family through adoption. And so they end up adopting a child who's been in their home, for that period of time and become available for adoption.
People should understand you don't sign up to foster because you want to adopt.
Correct.
You sign up to foster to care.
Yes. Yeah. It's important for kids to be in that family setting so foster parents can love, care for them, provide for their safety, their well-being. And then ultimately, if a permanency plan is needed, they may be able to do that as well.
Give us a sense of how many children are in permanent custody right now in Summit County.
So we currently have about 185 kids in permanent custody. 74 of those children, unfortunately, do not have a plan for permanency. So we are looking, recruiting. We use a program called Wendy's Wonderful Kids, where they have additional caseworkers who look for family, look back into past family connections. They kind of, just search everywhere to try to find a permanent family for those kids.
Summit County Children's Services has a website with information about the 74 perhaps that or others that need a permanent placement, a home. And what kind of information do you share, and how does that help the process?
So we have waiting child profiles that are on our website. Those would have pictures of the kids, their first name, would have some information about the kids, like I said, their age, maybe their likes, dislikes, what kind of family they would be interested in, and then information on how to contact their caseworker or supervisor so that they can, express interest, learn more about the child.
There is a thing where perhaps a child in the permanent care of Children's Services might be 13, 14, 15. Explain for our audience why that might be a harder placement or something that is, if somebody's looking to adopt, maybe they want an infant or Explain for those that are just maybe learning about this.
Yeah.
How what the challenges are, what that dynamic is.
So it is challenging, once kids are over the age of 12. Unfortunately, of those 74 kids that we need a placement for, 60 of them are over the age of 12. Over the age of 12, they often have trauma in their past. They may have experienced things that make it difficult sometimes to work with them, work with their behaviors. There can be challenging behavior issues. There can be, they still have a deep connection to their family, and they sometimes think that they don't want to be adopted. They may have feelings of betraying their birth family, and so there are a lot of things to work through in order for an older child to be adopted.
Describe the person, maybe somebody watching. What are the characteristics of somebody that would come forward, step up, look at being a caregiver or a permanent parent, a permanent placement for a child that is in this category, in that age group with those kinds of characteristics? I
would say that person would need to be patient, loving, understanding, and able to make that full-time commitment. That's one of the most important things to understand, that adoption is forever. And so you really have to be able to make that full-time, complete commitment to that child.
Can you think of a case where somebody has taken in a child that's 12, 13, 14 and had a successful outcome and found great joy?
Oh, absolutely. We have had some older kids that are adopted. It happens pretty frequently that we do have older kids that are adopted. We've had some great success stories. We've had, rushed to get an adoption finalized right before an 18th birthday several times over the last few years, because they really, even though they were turning 18 soon, really still needed and wanted that permanent connection.
You don't necessarily launch in life at 18.
No, you do
caregiving
not.
Can go on well into for a lifetime, perhaps.
Yes. And that's, that's so important. We want to make sure that these kids have, they may go to college, they may start a job, they need somewhere to come home, somewhere to do their laundry, somewhere to have Thanksgiving dinner. So any of those connections that we can make for kids are so important.
Just out of curiosity, when a child is in the care of Summit County Children's Services and they're turning 16, are they able to get a driver's license? Or do you have a driver's ed program? It just dawned on me that of the things that a caregiver would do for a 14, 15, 16-year-old, the big milestones, and one of them is driving.
Right. We try to make sure that they experience all the normal activities that other teens do. We will approve for kids to get their driving permit, take driver's ed, get their driver's license. It's important that they have their foster parent, adoptive parent, somebody who's able to put them on their insurance, kind of have that responsibility just the same as any parent would. We make sure they're on the right track. They're going to school, doing the things they need to do, and, consider that as a parent would.
For some people, the fun years are the changing the diapers and toddler age, running around and just being energetic, and all of those years. And for others, perhaps, helping someone come of age, learn how to drive, get through high school. Mm-hmm. Those are the fun years.
Yes.
And that's in children, many children in permanent custody. You need someone that likes those years as the fun years.
Yes, we do.
Right.
And those people are out there. There are
Sure.
definitely people who prefer to work with teens, prefer to have teens in their home. And we love those people because that is more difficult, and it really does take a special skill set sometimes.
Understanding trauma is an important characteristic of anybody that would be involved with, any of the kids that have gone through on this journey. There's probably a whole seminar and a whole degree you could have on understanding child trauma, but that shouldn't be something that would scare you away from any of this.
No, I would say, we do our best to provide training. We're fortunate we have the Northeast Ohio Regional Training Center on our campus. They offer lots of training for foster and adoptive parents. You have a caseworker, throughout the time. Our own Summit County foster parents have a foster care coordinator. So you always have somebody to ask questions, get more information, find out. We can recommend training. They're required to take a certain number of training hours each year, to maintain their licensure. So we really want to make sure that our families feel supported and have their questions answered. We can bring people in for meetings to work through challenges and, really try our best to make sure that we can preserve placements, keep them moving forward, and move towards finalization of an adoption.
If someone's watching right now and they want more information, summitkids.org, and maybe the information is there on the site. What's the best way to initiate contact?
So the best way, they can complete an inquiry on our website to say they're interested in being a foster or adoptive parent. We host virtual meetings several times throughout the year where folks can get more information and start that process.
And you don't need to be in Summit County. You could be in Medina or Portage or surrounding counties.
Yeah, we license folks in Summit County and the contiguous counties, and we really have a critical need right now for foster parents. So we hope that anybody who's ever had an interest will reach out and learn more about it.
Tracy Mayfield from Summit County Children's Services has been our guest, and all of us here supporting Summit County Children's Services encourage you to visit summitkids.org. Take a look at all the things we've talked about here on today's show. Thank you for watching here on AOH Primetime. Have a good night.